Awesome. Hey guys, welcome to the lesson today.
Hello.
This is Pianote. My name is Ruben. I'm the host today, and we have Lisa here.
Yes.
Who is demonstrating and kind of deconstructing a song called 1,000 Years.
Yes, very popular, sweet romantic song, and it's a beautiful piece for the piano. So even without the full performance of it, just the simple chord structure of the song is really, really lovely. So it's a really good song to have in your tool belt of songs you can play.
For sure.
Yes.
And this was a song from a famous movie as well, right?
Oh yes, this is from Twilight. So those of you who are Twilight fans, this one's for you. So I guess we can just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Jumping right in. Okay, so this song has a little bit more going on from a chord perspective than some of the other songs that I've taught in the live lessons. So what I've tried to do is simplify it. I'm going to demonstrate first how to play the intro of the song. And then we're going to fancy that up a little bit. And then we'll look at the chord structure. So no matter what level that you're at, I think there'll be something for everybody here. You might want to grab a pen and a paper if you'd like, because then you can kind of jot down some of the chords that we're going to be using today. And that'll be a good visual reference if you're playing along. So this song is in the key of C. So that's nice. We don't have to think about sharps or flats. We just get to play a really comfortable, easy key. But the first chord of the song is not a C. And I'm getting ahead of myself already because I want to teach you the intro first. So as you might know, the intro to this song is really, really pretty. I'm just going to demonstrate it for you, and then we'll pull it apart so that you can learn how to play it from the ground up. So the intro sounds like this. No, it doesn't sound like that at all. So I'm going to try that again. That's better. And that is the intro. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how to play just the voicing of this intro so that you don't have to get too involved with the chords yet. And that way, no matter where you're at with your piano adventures, you'll be able to do this. So the melodic theme that we have for the intro is really, really simple. If you place your third finger on E, you can use your 4 as well. You're just going to play E, 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 D, E, 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 D, F, 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 C, E, E, D, and then that fun little lick at the end goes C, B, A. So that is essentially what we're playing for the intro. So I think it might be good to play this with a click, and then you guys can play along at home and you can kind of get a feel for it. So what do we have it set for?
57 BPM.
57 BPM. So it's a little bit slow, but this is where we want it, especially when we're learning the song. And again, rhythm is not my strong skill, guys, so bear with me. Here we go. That's the right hand for the intro. So what I'm going to show you now is what the left hand does, because it'll be boring if we just play the right hand. And left hand's important too. So the left hand's actually really, really easy. All we're doing is kind of crawling down a scale with our left hand. So I'm going to set myself up with my left hand thumb on C, and all I'm going is from C to B to A to G to F to G. Let me double check that. Feels good to me. So let's put the hands together.
Put the click
Same
on.
idea with the click. Here we go.
All right.
At the BN, A, G, F, C, E, D, C, B, A. So that is the intro in its simplest form. So I think everybody can do that. That's pretty straightforward.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's fun and it's pretty. So if you're new, that's a really good place to start. Spend lots of time on that introduction, get cozy with it, and then we're gonna build into that, because as you probably noticed when I first played the intro, there was a lot more going on with my right hand especially. So what is happening is our melody is based off of chords, and those chords are changing, and what I do is I kind of think of it as the straight chords, and then I create little shells of the chords. So that sounds really confusing, but I'm going to show you what I mean. So the first chord of our intro is a C chord. And as you can see, if you look at my hand, I'm actually not playing that C chord in its root position. I'm playing it in its second inversion. And I know it's its second inversion because it's got the C in the 1, 2, second spot. And that's where I'm starting. So the reason for this is because it places the melodic note at the top of the chord, which seems to create a more dominant feeling for the notes that you're supposed to hear as the melody, the da 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 da. So I'm gonna play the chord, and if I do that for the intro with all of the different chords, it sounds really full, and it's not really the way you hear it when you listen to the song. So what I've done is I've actually just taken out the center note, and I'm keeping the shell, so the bottom and the top of it. And we could call that an interval of a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what happens is if I play it hands together, it sounds just right. Now the next chord that we're gonna play is based on the G chord. So this is our G chord. And we're gonna take out the center note again to create that shell, which gives us a 5th. And our left hand does that little step down. So put that together. And it's so pretty. And you'll notice dynamically, I'm actually kind of backing off my pressure a little bit. And I think that creates just a little bit more of a sort of a gentle mood in the song.
You're kind of like pressing forward and then kind of going backwards to kind of do...
Yes.
Okay.
Like I just reduced the pressure slightly. And that makes it go from sounding, which is fine, but this makes it lovely.
And sorry, do you kind of slow it down as well in the intro sometimes?
Yes, I do. I think I probably take quite a bit of liberty in terms of the tempo in the intro. You're a drummer, right?
Yes.
So you probably wouldn't enjoy playing this song with me because of my rhythmic liberties. But I think on some level it's okay, right? When you're at the beginning of the song, you're finding your kind of groove where you want to be. So I feel like there can be some play.
Definitely.
Is that allowed?
Definitely. No, it's good to do that because, like, yeah, you said you're setting up the song. It's just yourself playing, so it kind of builds a nice thing, just
gives
like
some
an
momentum.
introduction.
Okay, sweet. We have the drummer's approval. Yes. Okay, so we're going from here. There's our lovely 6th, based on the C chord, to our G. Our next chord is an A minor. And so the way I'm going to play this is I'm simply going to shift my hand to an A minor chord position and take out the middle. So I'm playing a 5th again. Our next chord is G, so I'm going to pop everybody down. There's our G chord, only playing the top and bottom. Now our next chord is F. So this one, I actually am not going to go here because it takes us away from that melody that we want to hear from the intro. So for my F chord, I'm going to move my hand so that F, which is the dominant melodic note, is played with my baby finger. So I'm going to use F and A. So you can see it's an inverted F chord. So here we go. I'm going to gently hit the C with my 2 finger because that's part of our little melody. And then back we go to the C chord. And then we shift down to the G. And then there's our little... So, is that making sense so far?
Definitely.
Yes. So there's kind of lots going on, and you can choose to engage with a little bit of these things, or you can play the whole intro. I'm going to do it again, just the way I showed you, and we're going to use the click so you can play along at home. We can all work on our rhythm skills together.
Definitely. Ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Sounds awesome.
It It is. It's a really pretty song. I've heard this song a lot of times in my teaching. You know, between vocal and piano, everybody wants to learn this song. So I don't really get tired of it. I pretend that I do, but it's so pretty.
For sure.
So there we have the intro. Are we feeling good for the intro?
I do. I have one question, actually.
Okay, one question.
When you press the pedal, playing between chords, you let it go at every chord and then kind of...
Yes, I do. So what happens is if you don't let go of the pedal between every chord change, you get a really muddy sound, and I think I'll be able to demonstrate it. So if I play the intro... kind of sounds run together. So it does take some practice to get used to, because it's another level of coordination. You have to get your legs involved now. It does take some coordination to get used to lifting after. So I play the next chord and then I lift.
Okay.
And I place my pedal right back down.
Awesome.
It takes practice. Yeah.
For
Pedals
sure.
are tricky. But once you get the hang of them, you'll never play anything without the pedal because it just becomes instinct.
For sure.
Yep. Okay.
Good to
so
go.
we got more song to learn. The rest of this song is pretty straightforward. So the great thing about acing that intro is that it comes back into play when we get to the chorus of the song, because that theme returns. But for now, we're just going to look at the verse. There's a new set of chords for you within the verse. Similar chords, I think they're just ordered slightly different. So we're going to start with an F chord. And in the song, my ear hears this. So you're going to look at that and go, what are you playing? So this is an F chord in root position. And then when I swap out the third for the second, we actually call that a sus. So we'd call this an F sus2. And it's really pretty. And it sounds kind of like it has to travel somewhere. It doesn't sound like a complete sound. It sounds like it's going somewhere. It's tension a little bit. So we start here. And you'll notice I'm just playing fifths in my left hand. You can play fifths or you can play single notes. You can play really whatever floats your boat. So we've got F. And then we're gonna move to C. So here's where it can get a little tricky. You can choose, if you're new, you can choose to play all of these chord changes in root position and it's still gonna sound lovely. So I'm gonna show that to you first. So here's our F. We're gonna move to C. Next chord is A minor. And then we have G. And then we have a quick C, and then back to F. So a lot is happening in that. Let's do it with the click. You guys can play along with me. So we're going F, C, A minor, G, C, and then back to F. So it's going to really give you a good workout.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready. Again. Here's our C. Coming up to A, and then G, quick C, F. And that is basically the verse. If you can sort that out, you've got the verse handled. So I accidentally played it in inversions at the beginning of that little demonstration, which is why I doubled it for you, because I'm really used to playing it with the inversions, and I'm going to show you how I put that together. So inversions simply means a different order of playing the notes. Are you a piano player, Ruben?
I have taken some lessons. I
Really?
went to university, so I did learn about inversions and some theory, but
Yes.
I kind of forget some of them. But I did know that it was basically just a rearrangement of the notes.
Yes. So most students go, oh, not inversions, because it's technical and you have to do it over and over again to really get it. But I promise inversions are the best. So all of those repetitive inversions that you play when you're doing your technique and your technical exercises, they really pay off when it comes time to either playing songs by ear or chording or composing. So I do start the song in the root position with F. And then I move to an inverted C because for me a lot of it is about how I can most efficiently move between the chords so I don't have to bounce my hand around the keys. So in this case, and I've referenced some of these tricks in the chord hacks videos, but I'm going to be moving from F to a C chord because I know my next chord is C. And when I look at my hand as I'm playing this root position F chord, I see that my fifth finger is on C. Now the movement from a 1 chord, which is what we reference a root position chord, to a 5 chord is always the same kind of shape if you want to use a shortcut. So we know that the notes for an F chord are F, A, and C, and that the notes for a C chord are C, E, and G. So if you look, I've already got C, E is right here, and G is right here. So it's kind of some quick thinking. I don't really think about it in that logical process anymore because I've done it so often, but it's always, if you're playing a 1 chord, which means you're playing a chord in root position, and you're moving to the chord that is 5 notes above that 1 chord, it's always this movement. So it sounds complicated, but it's one of those simply complicated things that once you get it, it's awesome. So, long-winded explanation that I'm just simply moving from F to C. And then to get to my A minor chord, I'm thinking A minor has an A, a C, and an E. I've got C already, I've got E already. I'm gonna swap my 2 for my 3. Magically, I'm at my A minor chord, so I didn't have to move at all. It was really efficient. My next chord is gonna be G. So for me, I like to move to G by putting my thumb down on the D. I put my 2 finger on the G, and my 4 is hovering above B. That's probably really incorrect fingering, but it feels efficient for me because my next chord is going to be a C. So I can transition really easily from here to the C, and then F is right there. So it's just a fancy way of playing the song in root position, but it really does, it travels the ear nicely and you don't have to move your hands. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So with the inversions, with the click, you can try playing along. And if you are playing along, don't be discouraged if you're fumbling or you're missing some of the chords. Just the process of jumping in and trying to play along, even though maybe you're not quite getting it all, is super, super healthy. It's going to contribute towards you really getting it and learning this.
For sure.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right.
Here we go, root position. Here's our inverted C. Switching to A. Tricky G. Back to C. And then F. Here's our C again. Switch to A. Here's our G. C. F.
Awesome.
That's it. It's that simple. So we've got a little bit, oh, we're still
Sorry about that. All right.
We've got a little bit of a transition, some transition chords that take us from the the verse into the chorus. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from F to the A and the G. And that's this part. One step closer. So that's what we're playing with there. I always sing when I play just because I'm a singer, and it helps me to stay on track with where I'm going in the song. Some of you might find that helpful. It doesn't matter if you're a singer or not. I think it's great to sing while you play. A, because it's a skill. It's not as easy as it looks right away. And B, because I feel like it really puts you in the zone, keeps you in the song. So the way to play that little transition chunk, we go from F to A minor to G. You can play little fifths. Play those inversions. Really, the sky's the limit. So I would encourage you to take creative license there. As long as you're following the rhythm pattern and you're moving between the chords, you're gonna be fine. So that's my thinking. So how are we doing so far? Is everybody kind of tracking with us? Is it all making sense? Any questions?
Everything seems good. No questions yet.
Okay, we're good.
We're doing good, yeah.
So what I want to show you now is kind of how we transition from that verse into the chorus. And this is really cool because this is what we've just put all of that time into learning for the intro of the song. We get to play that again in the chorus. So I'm going to back up a little bit so you can see how it moves. We'll go from one step closer. So now my hands are going to go whoosh right back to where we were for the intro, and we're going to go here. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 intro and a chorus, and they're the same thing, and it's sneaky. So that's one way to play the chorus. I think that's a kind of true to the instrumentation that we hear in the song, but you don't have to play it that way. You could play, I have died. There's your C chord. There's your A minor, and your G, and then the F, and then the G. It's actually a sus. And you'll notice I used a sus4, which simply means there's my root position. I swapped my third for my fourth, and then I resolved back to the proper G chord. Now, some of you might have noticed that I'm actually dancing my left hand down, and what I'm doing is I'm playing a C in the chorus, I have died every day. When I transition to G, I do it using that 1-5 trick. Look, C is in the 1, the root, and my next chord is going to be the 5, so that's the G. So again, we get to make that little sneaky chung chung, and we're on our G chord. It's super magical. I get excited every time I talk about it. I'm such a nerd. So we go from C to G, but my left hand is not. My left hand's going from C to B. So some of you might be scratching your heads. And what I'm doing is I'm playing what is called a G over B. So anytime you see on a chord chart a G and then a slash and then a B, or you can have any combination really, it's always the first note is what you're playing in the right. So G is our right hand, it's our main chord. And what's below that, the over, is what's kind of carrying that bass. Sounds so pretty because it carries the ear kind of down, and again, it's one of those tension building tricks. So if I went from C to G, it's great. I have died every day waiting for you. But when we travel to the B, it just creates that lovely tension. So that's what's happening here. So we're going, I'm going to show you in root position, C, Now to get to the minor 6, this is in the key of C, so our minor is the A. So I'm just going to do the same shape from the 5. I go shunk, everybody shifts up, and I'm on C, E, and A. And if this is all news to you, you should definitely check out the Chord Hacks video because it's going to teach you what I'm talking about with all of these crazy changes. A, G, F, and then G again. Two ways that you can play the chorus. So I think maybe what we could do is grab that click again, and we'll play it. I'll play it twice through. The first time through I'll use the intro chords, and then the second time through I'll go to just using some normal kind of creative inverted chords so you guys can see that you have a lot of creative license in the chorus.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. All the pieces of the song for you. So basically, awesome.
that is the song. If you can do that, you can play the song. So we've looked at the chord structure. That's usually how I approach the songs, because usually if I'm playing a song, I'm singing along. But you can also play the melody, which I believe we have some tools for you on the site that have some of the notation. If you want to take a look at that later, that will help you. Usually what I do, because I'm not a strong sight reader, is I will, if I'm not sure of the song's melody, I'll figure that out by using the notation. And then I'll go back to my chords and I'll use the chords so that I can improvise what to do in my left hand. So I'm not actually reading a whole bunch of notes, I'm just following a melodic line. And that makes it, that's how I do it. Other people are all about the notes, and then there's others that are just magical, like Crazy Jordan, who can play anything he's ever heard for 5 seconds, just magically. So we all kind of sit somewhere different.
For sure.
So how are we doing with that, guys? Do we have any questions? We're good?
So far, no questions.
So far, no questions.
I did write down a couple of my own, so if we don't have anything... they're super basic questions.
Okay.
Don't worry. It's not. Yeah. Yeah. Not. Can you play this in the style of Bach?
No,
As
I would
if
say
he
no.
was reborn in the 40s. Yeah. No.
That would be kind of fun though. Now I'm imagining it.
Um,
My fingers can't express what I'm imagining though. That's just too crazy.
Okay. So the first question I had was just kind of when you approach a song to kind of make it your own.
Yes.
And you kind of talked about some of this already, like adjusting chords and using inversions that you like.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you kind of add to your process of kind of making the song your own?
Oh yes. I think to create something that feels like your own, I think number one is you need to be educated and skilled at the movements and the inversions, because the more skill that you have, the more options you're going to have to create your own style and sound. And it also, I think becoming a really good listener is really important in that process. So you're going to have a natural, like you're going to know what you like to hear. Maybe you're inspired by country music, maybe you're inspired by blues, maybe whatever. And so you can infuse that. So by adding the seventh note of the chord into some of your chords, you can create a more jazzy sound. By twinkles, I always call them twinkles because that word makes me happy. It can kind of sound, maybe you could add a country vibe, right? That's a twinkle. If you want to make a more flowy sound, you're going to throw in lots of broken stuff. So sound very different. So it's about experimenting until you find what feels good for you and your ears. Yes.
Definitely.
That's my thinking about it anyways.
Cool. There's just one more that I had written down. It was basically when you play with a band.
Yes.
How would you kind of approach playing with that? Would you just first talk to if there's a guitar player, to see if he's playing chords and...
Yes. When you start to play with a band, it's a whole other animal. So when we're playing by ourselves, it's all about us. So we get to make the rules. We're not super accountable for rhythm, and we get to be the star of the show. But when you're playing with a band, it's about complementing. It's about adding that. It's like spicing your food. Like you're not going to dump a whole bunch of pepper unless you love pepper like that much, right? It's about just the right amount. So you have to, I think, at the beginning especially, start with less is more. So if I were to play the song with a band, I would, I'd play the intro because it's a dominant piano piece, but when it gets to the verses, I would really back off. I wouldn't do a lot of fancy stuff. I would keep my chord structures really simple and really basic until we kind of had a feel for it collectively, and then you can kind of ask your band's opinion. Hey, would you like to hear more, or do you need to hear less, or was there something missing? So that's my thinking for bands.
Awesome.
It really is it's a whole different scene when you have other players in the room.
For sure.
But it's fun. I'd encourage everybody to have that experience for sure, because it will really push you as a player.
And it is really fun too, like the energy you kind of, like when you leave playing with a group of people that you enjoy playing with, there's kind of no other way to put it. It just, you have so much energy, you feel excited, you kind of, like I find if I'm feeling down about my playing, usually when I play with other people,
you feel better.
Unless, they have to be maybe better than you or whatever to make you feel...
They're like, you suck, you gotta leave. No, but usually when you're playing with a group, it's so true. You end up feeling good. And I think as musicians, we all want to encourage each other, having, supportive peers that you can play and they can encourage you. Not being afraid to have a voice, saying, hey, can we slow that chunk down, guys? Can we rework that a little bit so that you have time to really settle into what your role is in the group? Yeah. Definitely. It's really good. It's a great experience.
We just had one more question in the chat.
Yep.
Someone was asking, hey, how can you tell which notes will sound good played in the left hand as alternates to the root note or the chord?
Okay, so this song has a lot of options for notes over notes. So we kind of talked about that when we moved from what did we do? From C to G. We played the B on the bass of the G chord. So there's some basic rules that usually, with music, it's like this is the rule sometimes, but usually sometimes, there's always exceptions to the rule. So usually, if you want to create a different sound by changing the root note in your left hand, you have to follow the chord rules. So if I'm playing a G chord, G is my root note, so that's what I would kind of traditionally play. But other notes that will sound good with this for sure are the D and the B. So for example, here's the G chord with the D bass. And then here's a G chord with the B bass. So any of those things are gonna sound pretty. I think there's some level of experimentation that will kind of guide you towards what's gonna sound good. It's kind of what carries the ear. So if you notice in this inversion of the G chord, I've got B as my bass note, and that just sounds really lovely to fill in more of those sound frequencies of B by adding it in my left hand. So some of it's experimenting. I'll show you again on C chord. If I'm going to play a C chord, I've got C, E, and G. C is my root note, but I could also play it with an E underneath because E is part of my chord. And that sounds really cool. And I might want to use that if I know I'm going to go from a C to an F because E resolves kind of upward. So watch this. C, C with an E bass, and then if I move to F, it sounds really cool.
For sure.
So it's one of those things that once you get comfortable with root positions and you're kind of playing comfortably, then you can start playing with adding different suggestions of notes in your left hand, and you'll have fun. Because I remember when I first kind of encountered these chord over note chords. There's probably a word for them that I don't know. I just went crazy for it. I love it. So in my songwriting, when I'm composing something and I get stuck, I'll often go, okay, well this is, I don't want to start my song here. What would it sound like if I played this? Oh my gosh, it's so pretty, right? So it gives you way more zone to play with.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right, I think that is everything. We don't have any more questions in.
Okay, so maybe I'll show the song with a little bit of the melody line played for those of you that would be interested in kind of taking a look at how that looks. So when I play a song and I want to include some of the melody, what I do is I play like 60% of the melodic notes, and then I play some of the chord notes in between. So it's not like I'm precisely playing the exact sung melody of the song. I'm giving suggestions of it. So what that does, I feel, for the listener is it gives them time to just kind of relax into the music. It gives them something to follow, but not too much. That's
sure.
my personal approach. That's how I like to play it. So I'll show you what I mean. If I start at the verse. So my verse starts on an F chord, and I'm gonna, everybody at different levels of kind of ear skills, you're gonna wonder, okay, what's the melody? Heart beats fast. So singing it, this is where can be really handy if you're playing by ear. If you can sing it, if you can hear it, you can find it. So usually the melody notes are gonna be hidden in the chord. So if my first chord is F, I know my C is kind of the melody line. So it's gonna go heart beats fast. My next chord is a C, and I'm gonna play my C over E to show you how cool that sounds. Right? So here we go. Heart beats fast, colors and promises. Now my ear's like, oh, where do I go? So I'm gonna cheat, and I'm just gonna play the A minor chord because I know that that's gonna sound good. Now I've picked it back up because the melody's always lurking in the chords that you're playing. So if you play around, heart beats fast, that's not right. Heart beats fast, nope. Heart beat, there it is. So that's my crazy process. Everybody is gonna be different, but it works for me. So here's how it would sound. I make mistakes too. So this is probably a really good teaching moment. So when you mess up, because it happens to all of us, there's there's probably 3 things you can do. You can stop and start over. You can pretend like you never made a mistake and just keep going. Or you can pause where you are and you can figure it out. And I think the only one of those I wouldn't encourage would be starting over. So when you make a mess up, if you're publicly performing, my suggestion is always to get back to the chords that you're supposed to be playing in the rhythm. So you make a mistake and you play a wrong note, well, where do you head next? That's the good place to pick up. And if you have time, then you stop. And I would back up slightly, and I would do it over again, and I'd pick it out until I found what felt right, and then I'd carry on. So I think that's a really, 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 really important point to note, because it's always a learning process, and the brain, you're going to retain that muscle memory, you're going to create the muscle memory if you are intentional about what you're doing. If you go back to the beginning and kind of approach it mindlessly, hoping you're taking a run at it, your level of success is probably not going to be as high. So that's my thinking about this beautiful song called 1,000 Years.
Awesome.
So we good? Any last questions? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
That's everything. Someone had asked just about playing inverted chords. What do they know? Like, how do they know what to play? So I just suggested checking out know your inversions and then do whatever's comfortable.
Yes.
But you had also mentioned there's a chord pack. Will
Yeah.
that stuff be in there?
So in the Pianote, I believe the library, we have a video called Chord Hacks where we really deconstruct the inversions and quick ways that you can get moving between the different chords so that you can be efficient and awesome at it. So that's going to help you a lot. So I highly recommend checking that series out, especially if you enjoy playing by ear, because it's going to help you immensely. So there we have it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thank you.
We'll
Thank
see
you, Lisa.
next
That was
time.
awesome.
You're welcome.
All right. Catch
Okay,
you
I'll play
later.
us out.
Oh, all right.